Awesome Journey, and I am your host, Kelle Steinicke. Oh, we're kind of in an odd position here today.
I'm moving.
With my co-host in care, Christy Howard, and we are just two girls that connected on LinkedIn 15 years ago, live on opposite sides of the country, have giving hearts, a passion for paying it forward, and I may have prayed to be living louder in my purpose. And now here we sit in front of microphones, bringing you the awesome journey. And as many of you know, and for those of you that are new here, one of our primary goals was to highlight incredible individuals to share their unique stories so that we can all be reminded that we are united in our personal journeys. And as you've also noticed over this year, we've really gone into the direction of really focusing more on mental health, men's mental health, surrounded by so many things. And particularly this time of year with the holidays, which can exacerbate so many different things, we really wanted to highlight it. And we're very excited to have our guest with us today, Mike VanZetta, who is the owner and CEO of PiZetta Media. And I just can't help but say it. You have the raddest name. Like, you sound like you should be in the movies, and you sort of are. And today we're going to talk about his journey through mental health, projects that he's working on at PiZetta Media that are incredible. And before we start that, I just want to make one little shout out because today is Giving Tuesday. And one of the things, I am rocking my Wheelchairs for Warrior. They have rad swag, so do check that out too. Christy and I, on both of our pages and on the Awesome Journey page, we have highlighted some of the incredible organizations that we've had the opportunity to work with, or that we will be having some coming up in the future. Just to name them here, we will share them in the comments, but do go to our profiles if you're interested. If you don't have the financial wherewithal at the moment to donate to any of these causes, please just share with your network, because that is free. And all of these are literally saving lives. And they are Wheelchairs for Warriors, Trauma Behind the Badge, Lighthouse Health and Wellness, Survive First, Save the Brave, We Fight Monsters, and Veterans for Child Rescue. I very rarely write anything down and read it, but I didn't want to forget any of those. So please, on this Giving Tuesday, check into those. And again, share it if you don't have the ability to donate today. And also for those of you, it's year-end giving. So there's always a time to give. And for those organizations who are looking for allocation for next year, also consider those. So all of that being said, before we get it over to Michael and start this conversation today, I will turn it over to my co-hosting here, Christy.
Good afternoon. It's a cold, dreary day in Florida. So I've got my dog on top of my feet, keeping me warm. I'm excited to have Mike on. Mike has, both Kelle and I are on his YouTube. He interviewed us. And I'll say it was a humbling experience. And after I watched mine, I actually cried, because I really, was transparent and showed my journey, as well as, watching Kelle's, and we'll post those probably in the middle of December, for everybody to get to know us, because, we're all about, sharing everybody else's story. A lot of people come on new and they're just like, who are these two chicks? Who are you guys? So here you just, read our about and, get to know us, and we'll be sharing, our videos are on top of our pinned features for all of our past guests. And we do have our YouTube. Please subscribe, because we'd like to see those numbers up. But now, Mike, I'm excited. We have another guest that he just interviewed coming up, and he's all about, showing the positive change in the world, and that's what we need right now. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're in a shit show. So, Mike,
yeah,
as I curse the lady that I am, it's all yours. It's your stage.
Well, thanks for having me, and actually, thanks for letting me interview you two for my podcast. And how we talked is what I want to get out there, just conversations about people being themselves, because that's one of my main goals. So go back to like 2019, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2. I knew, like, in between my whole life, I went to therapy. I took depression meds and all that. But I didn't know if there was something wrong with me or whatever. So I had a breakdown and then went to get diagnosed multiple places and said bipolar disorder 2. And so I started working on that. I got a good treatment plan and felt good about it. And then I was at a job where I started telling some people and my boss and all that. And then I got a message from my boss and HR saying if you tell people, it makes them uncomfortable. So then I felt like, oh, this is a bad thing. I shouldn't be telling people. And I hid it, basically. I felt better about myself knowing, but I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want people to think differently of me. So I didn't tell anyone for 2.5 years. And then eventually that job didn't renew my contract. So then I went somewhere else. I went to a company called Burst, which I still consult to this day with. But I was so nervous to tell them I had bipolar disorder 2. I just did a text, and the CEO, Bryant McBride, called me 15 minutes later, said, "It's all right. We'll have anything we'll do whatever it can," and all that. And that meant so much to me. And that then got my brain thinking to, create something myself on the side where it is focusing on stories about people more so. So the first year of PiZetta Media is just gaining the ground and understanding what is the goal for this and learning the future of broadcasting and all that, because I've been in broadcasting for over 20 years. So I think about a year now, it's really my true mission. I'm honest of, getting these stories out there because it has an emotional connection for me. Because when I was diagnosed, and this was only 4 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of videos or anything about people with lived experiences. I saw a Wikipedia page that said celebrities with bipolar disorder. And those were no videos, not even telling about their stories. So I thought there should be more stories like that. And then it just evolved to now I'm producing, creating all the stories and focusing on mental health, especially where I live. I created a series called Mental Health in the Commonwealth, and that's Virginia. And I'm learning so much about what everyone in the mental health fight is doing. And I'm lucky enough to be a part of a county that's creating a crisis receiving center to help people, to help the firefighters or the police that just don't have the resources to help people going through a crisis. And I'm seeing that. I'm talking nonprofits and all that. So that is great that I get to, talk to these people in person. But I also focus on people on the front lines, nonprofits, and mental health journeys in these stories, these, podcasts and all that. Anything I could do to get these messages out there.
What's interesting is 4 years ago, nobody talked about mental health. Hence, HR is like, "Ooh, don't talk about that.
Right.
You can't, you're making people uncomfortable," which is bullshit. But now it's like, hey, this is what I have. And what we're finding out is people who are older, it was never diagnosed.
Right.
It was never diagnosed. And now people who are older are going, okay, there's something that, I've gone through therapy. There's something off balance of me.
Right.
And now it's being able about it.
Yeah. Because I think, and we've had so many other conversations with other people, similar situation in the sense of I couldn't tell, or when I did tell, how they were treated. And then it made their situation worse because people were treating them different and usually in a negative manner. And about, it shouldn't have a negative connotation. And I love how a couple of our guests have talked about this, is mental health is about your health. It has nothing to, we all need to be in good health. So we have a little issue. well, if I had, some physical ailment, and God forbid, and I don't mean to say this out loud in any way, but, cancer, people would be like, what can I do to help you? Oh my God, how can we support you? But to be like, oh, I've got bipolar 2. Oh, well, don't say anything because you might lose your job. Um, First of all, total discrimination. And it's not like anybody knew or they couldn't see it or they didn't know about it. But I would think too, and this is a thing I think for so many, how did that make you feel knowing I can't tell anybody because I mean, the shame that people put on us is just, and they'll claim though, I think so many organizations claim this nowadays, and even back in 2019, oh, we have an open door policy. Please come in and tell us anything.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
No, it was tough. It was hard because I finally got this moment where I felt like, okay, I know what the issue is. And I know with my wife and kids and all that, they're by my side and having the right treatment. I'm ready to do this, but I can't tell anyone because the fear of, the people at my work already said it makes people uncomfortable. So I can't be myself.
We should never live in the fear for dancing with our own skeletons.
Yeah.
Because our skeletons of being transparent is going to help somebody else where they're struggling.
Absolutely.
And this is why society is
jacked
where we're at. Yeah, jacked up.
And I think a good thing to talk about, maybe Michael, to expound on that a little bit, is what was going on in your life that led you to be like, I something is going on with me that I need to go get some help or get tested or whatever it was. What led you to that point?
Yeah, so it was work related actually. The company I was with had a startup, and I was a part of that, and they closed that down, and I remained with the company, but I felt, loss and a failure and all that. So it just was tough. So then maybe there's something wrong with me. It's just not having a good day, bad day, or whatever it is. So I then checked it out and like looking at the list of bipolar disorder and like checking almost everything. So like, okay, this is something. And then just going from there, because then there's a treatment plan available, but having a breakdown, then realizing, all right, I can't, there's too much of this. I need help, basically.
So I don't know a lot about bipolar, and I'm not like Kelly that I dig deep and dive deep. That's why she's good at what she does. So explain to me depression and the bipolars, you're up and down.
Yes.
But depression, you can be up and down as well.
Yes. Yes, so you can.
But how do you know that it's just depression over bipolar?
And that's a good point. I was taking depression meds first. It just to the point of you get super high and then super low. And that's the thing of, just wanting to be in my bed and crawl, or, the super high of like, I'm the most important person in the world. Let me do this and all that. So it was, it was more like that, and it was tough to control. And, thank God I have an amazing wife, Jen, that has been with me for this whole time, because she got to see the true me, the problems, the toughness, because when you're out in work or all that, you're giving more of an aura of what people want to see. Absolutely. So she never saw that in me. I got to be my true self. So she was always there to help me.
And I think just even to expound on that, because I think people have such a negative interpretation of bipolar, because a lot of
people have it with depression.
Oh yeah,
well, we even know like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, well, get over it.
Yes.
Or they're nowhere to be found.
It's just
though you're always there for them.
Yeah.
So having the whole mental health, again, that's our health. We're now saying, look, mentally, I'm not doing good. We got a lot of job seekers out there. That's where that is. I'm just not doing good. And they're holding on to, they don't even know what they're holding on to. And so companies, people, we're all about mental health. We're here for you. Yet they're not.
Yes.
And I think this is why Kelle and I, well, I believe this is why this is not where we started, but this is where we're going, because it's so passionate for both of us, because we've gone through it and we see people struggling. And it's like, all we want to do is somehow educate and wake people up. And understanding, as I said, the difference between depression and bipolar. You know, you could be depressed, you could be taking the pills and not realizing you're bipolar, and nothing's wrong with that. It's like being, all of a sudden you're finding out that you're diabetic.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, there truly is, I mean, there is no difference, but people be like, oh, you're diabetic. That's awful. Like, I mean, and then there's empathy, but then bipolar, it's like, oh, holy shit. Like, I don't know what to think of you. Because it's been made up to be this scary thing. Because it's unknown. And that's why, again, with all of this, is removing this stigma and just having normal conversation about it, people. I mean, there are more people, and I believe this from all of what Christy and I have done over this year, as many people as we have talked to, and not just for this show, just personally too, or in Christy's work with all the job seekers, is people have, you know, their depression or their mental health is so exemplified with being out of work for months, not being able to help their family. Now we're going into the holidays. How am I going to deal with the holidays? A lot of people have, you know, issue with holiday when everything is great, let alone when things aren't great. So I think it's becoming more, or I hope so, more of a common conversation, because it's impacting an awful lot of people, or bringing to light that, holy shit, maybe I actually do have depression, or something is going on with me. And I just didn't know it. Because sometimes people going on to Google and self-diagnosing is like, don't do that. Which is why I was asking, you know, kind of, you know, what was going on with you. Because there's no shame. And then but we're all embarrassed. And I think asking for help, and we brought this up a lot too, and I'd like to know your thoughts on this, Michael, is when one of our friends or family or a loved one reaches out to us and says, you know, hey, I'm struggling, I need help. Oh my gosh, of course, what can I do to support you? How can I help you? But when we're on the other end of that going, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm not feeling right. I think I need some help. Like, we're terrible at that as human beings.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to know your thoughts on that, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard to come forward because you don't know what people are going to think of you, and it's scary, and you do need that help. You need even someone saying you're doing a good job, I'm proud of you, and all that. It takes you out of these situations and makes you feel better. But that initial thing, and that was the scary thing for me, the initial talking about it's tough. But, and going back to what I do with videos and stuff, we talk a lot about shared experiences. So just understanding what other people go through, my hope is people who are watching it realize, okay, I'm not different. Everyone's going through something similar, and start the conversation that way.
I love that. And I love what you're doing with the video series, because it's showing so many different, because I've seen quite a few of them, or have known quite a few of the people that have been on there, including Chris and I. Everybody has such a different story. And I think somehow that's also comforting to other people. Like, oh, wow, like it comes from so many different angles. And we actually just talked about this last week with Autumn, is one of the things with depression is, because Autumn, she's got a very big personality, super up, and, you know, the go-to person for so many things. And me similarly, people don't know how to deal with us when we're down. It's almost like, oh God.
That's when you see everybody disappear. Boom.
Yeah. Like, oh God, I don't know what to do with that. Or just saying like, oh, it's just a little phase, you'll be fine. just need some sleep or whatever it is. But it's because people are afraid of it. And then this is
Yeah.
something I know, Christy, that you said on a recent episode, which is so true, is a lot of times the reason people are judgmental about it is because it's fearful to them because they see something maybe in themselves that they don't want to see. Or it's just of the whole thing of, I so don't understand it, so I'm going to minimize it and I'm going to reject it because it just sounds scary. Like bipolar just sounds kind of scary
Yeah. Yeah.
for
But
whatever
we're
reason.
hearing about it more and more.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it's just, it's another, to me, it's just, if somebody says they're bipolar, and this is somebody who battled depression since I was 8, thought about killing myself one too many times, but understanding that it's another form of depression. However, you've got your ups and downs, just, a huge roller coaster.
Yeah.
At least that's, so it's, to me, it's not bad. It's just it needs medication. It's just how your body, it's how the things are connected. It's not your fault.
Right. And it's just society that makes us feel bad, right? It's not
society wants to screw us up.
Yeah, I mean, big time. And in the workplace, and really to circle back to that, because, as a leader for many, many years of many teams, I always had the approach with my team as individuals. I wasn't a manage outside of, treat everybody the same, because not everybody's the same. I had an employee who was an incredible worker. She was a very talented copywriter, very creative, and she suffered from severe anxiety. And I will never forget when she came in and told me that she was taking medication for it. And of course, there was part of me that was like, I feel very blessed that she felt comfortable enough to come and tell me. She didn't want HR to know, though. And I'm sure it was because of embarrassment or of being judged. She just wanted me to know because she knew I was one, if my team came in and I noticed that someone was a little off, because you can tell, all you have to do is pay attention. I would call them into my office and be like, hey, Michael, I noticed you seem a little off today. Is there anything I can do to help you or support you? It was never making it about like, are you feeling anxious to I didn't say, come on in and we're going to talk about, you seem like you must be suffering from anxiety today.
Yeah, but you're empathetic. You're not going to find that. You're empathetic. You are not going to find that.
Oh, no, I know, but it should be normal.
Jeff asked a question.
Hopefully more businesses would use that.
And I'm going to answer this question from somebody who battled depression. Does bipolar also include massive spending for no reason? No, that's depression. That's called retail therapy. That's why when I moved to Florida, I had 250 pairs of shoes, high heels. But no, I don't think that bipolar, but that's a part of depression. That's retail therapy. I mean, you want to make yourself feel good, so you're going to go spend.
Right, looking externally to make you feel better about what's not going on right in your.
I know retail therapy very well.
Yeah, there's more. What people describe is there's more impulsiveness, but I do not want to spend lots of money for no reason.
So going into the videos. How did you come about, or how do you find the people? How do you reach, not in your local community, but reach out to the people? How do they receive it when you say, hey, you want to come and talk to me?
Yeah, it's
sort of like us.
No, I mean, I reach out a lot of people via email messaging and explain what I'm doing. And some people are like, first thing people say, like, how much does this cost?
Of course.
It doesn't cost anything. I just want to hear about your story because it could help others. But I do a lot of research. I use the Great Nonprofits website. So I look at all these different nonprofits and try to research them as much as I can and then reach out. And then some people, the best thing is showing them examples of videos, because the big thing, even interviewing people or get partners or try to get larger with this mission, is gaining the trust of people that I'm not just doing this for money and all that. I have a bigger mission to just help people. And this is the way I've been broadcasting 20 years. So this is the way I know how I can help people. So this is how I'm going to do it. But I think those are some of the things.
So we've got Jeff who's curious about bipolar.
I love Jeff.
I know. We love Jeff. Now this is a job seeker. Right. Okay. So this is a job seeker who, you know, like everybody else, especially men. You know, I deal with job seekers all the time. It's the hardest for men. So when men are in this place and they're depressed or they're doing this, they start questioning, what's wrong with me? I can't handle this.
I'm not good enough. Yeah. I'm not good enough. I can't take care of my family. I mean, all the things.
So now saying, okay, is there something like that's off, or am I just depressed, or what should I do? You know, and that's to understand the different levels, because you mentioned that you were bipolar 1 or 2. You were 2.
Two.
So what's the difference? I mean, how many numbers does it go up to? How many, you know, what's the difference of 1 and 2 on the reactions or the actions or?
Yeah, it's with bipolar 2, the actions are a little lower in terms, a little mild, or not mild, but more mild than bipolar 1. It's the more of the extremes.
Mm-hmm.
Who I think that we have a guest coming on.
Yeah.
The general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, and I think that's what people, and I say this for myself too, back when, because when I heard bipolar, and I'm not saying recently, I'm saying, you know, several years ago, my immediate thought was, oh shit, this person can get violent. And I think that's what a lot of people think, is that they're so extreme that it's like, oh, they're a little cray cray. And it's like, no, it's not. And then people research something or look it up. And I say this about everything, not just this topic, but don't take the word of some blog you read one time or a headline somewhere or what somebody told you. Actually look into it, because you'll be surprised at how much you don't know about mental health issues, which I mean, I've learned so much this year, which I'm so blessed for so many reasons of changing my mindset. And granted, Christy and I are both very open-minded to people and don't judge, because, hey, I'm not walking your journey. So I have no clue what you're going through. I have a hard enough time dealing with my own shit, let alone somebody else's trying to pass judgment on them. And it does go back to that empathy and compassion. If we just,
and we've also been judged.
Oh yeah. That's the worst.
Yeah. Family, friends, acquaintances, you know, we've been there.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding that everyone has a mental health issue.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. At some point in time, you've suffered some sort of trauma. You've had a job loss, a loss in the family, a divorce. And
it's not bad.
Even big changes in life, moving. I mean, there's so many things. Those do create some sort of issue. Now, I certainly can say I have had times of situational depression, but it just was exacerbated by, you know, so many other things. But I still have depression. I'm just aware of it, and I can tell, and I'm still triggered. This happened actually recently, because the domestic violence, and I didn't know this till several years ago either. That from domestic violence, you have PTSD. And I had never been told that before, but I was like, that actually makes sense. But I was just triggered on something a few months ago, and I was shocked by it. I was like, holy crap, it has been so long. Like, how did that trigger me? But it's about being aware of it. And that's the thing that I think is difficult, or to just notice in yourself, like, man, I am just feeling off. And Christy, you probably remember this, because I called you right away. I was like, girl, I am absolutely triggered. And I was upset that I was triggered. But then, talking through it, walking through it, and doing some other things afterwards to help. But it's about being aware of how we feel. But we go back to the whole thing of being okay to ask for help, because I called Christy right away and was freaking out because I knew I could call her right away. And having, surrounding yourself with people.
Yeah.
Where I
That's
think
huge.
on social media, there's been a lot of people, certainly that we have talked to as well, that are like, hey, reach out to us and ask us. Follow someone on social media that has had a similar situation or what have you, and reach out to them. And we say this a lot. We're not doing this because we're trying to be private people. We're doing
I
this
dance with my skeletons. I can't be private.
Yeah, we're trying to help people. And when you don't know what to do, just start by asking someone. Because sometimes I shouldn't say sometimes, it's okay to be like, I have no idea what I need. I just know I need something. And we're not therapists or counselors or any of those things, but we certainly have a toolkit of an awful lot of resources, or know people that you can reach out to if you don't have family, friends that you can reach out to. Because it goes back to that whole thing, asking for help is scary.
What's interesting, the word of the year was authentic.
Stop.
Yeah. And that's where people are wanting to be. They want to be authentic. They want to be transparent. They want to share. They want to dance with their skeletons and not be judged. They might not want to dance as much as I do, but they want to be able to say, hey, this is me. I'm struggling. I know I'll be okay. Can you just be there? Can you just, and I don't need your commentary. I don't, get over it.
Right. I don't need you to
get over things. We get through things. And for being bipolar, you were like, hey, there's something still coming. Something's still just not working. Just let me figure it out. And you were open to do that. Many people don't. And that's why the suicide rate is so high.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid of what will come out, or they'll be judged, or they won't have anybody to stand next to them.
Yeah.
And, the whole thing is you go check out. It might not be what you think it is. So you get out of your head.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
you just go try to get healthy for your mental health. It's just like if you're, trying to lose weight. I mean, come on, COVID. Don't even start with me how much weight you're getting off of COVID. I mean, it's like, and then it just goes up and down and up and down. But that probably has to do with I go to Italy, Asia, and I like to eat. But going and trying to do something about it, nobody sits there and goes, well, what's wrong with you, Christy? Why can't you drop it? Well, I don't know. I'm in my 60s. The older we get. So now I don't allow people's judgment to attack my health, mental, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
And that's huge. That's one of the things that has helped me a lot, instead of, being so concerned of what people think about me. And, I'm in my own journey. The people who may have opinions of me, they're not going to be there. They're one-time thing. So you got to move past that.
Right. And it's our own judgment of ourselves. I mean, that's my battle. It's like, I need to be kinder to myself, not so hard on myself, because this is one of the things that happens with me when I start going in that direction, start feeling depressed or what have you, I get angry with myself because I'm like, gosh, dang it. And then it can be a bit of a cycle, and it takes a bit to get out of it and being aware, but I get mad at myself. And then it's like, okay, I need to show myself some grace. Girl, be your biggest cheerleader and stop this crap. But to go back to what Christy was saying about suicide, and of course you reacted on this too, Michael, or Mike. I can't help Michael VanZetta. I really love it. Anyway, suicide rates are up ridiculous. And
especially with men.
Christy and I talk about first responders and veterans. I mean, it's gut-wrenching and heartbreaking in so many different ways. And one of the things over this year and doing this show is hearing so many of these men's stories and how raw and authentic they are of what was going on in their mind when they were doing it and what they thought, or when they were trying to attempt it. is always that they thought they were doing everybody else a favor because they felt like a burden. And one of the stories that we've heard was one person in particular, and we don't know this person, it was through the Here Brotherhood, that the guy said, "I was sitting there contemplating taking my life because I figured I had two choices. I could either take my life and my life insurance could pay off all my debts so my family would be taken care of, or I don't." And he didn't, because he was in the Here Brotherhood, which I can't say enough about their organization. And the reason they're not in our Giving Tuesday, if anyone's wondering, is because they're not set up to take donations yet, but they will be next year. But in any event, is understanding that they're thinking like, I'm doing everybody else a favor and I'm in this place. And this is another thing that Christy and I always say, and I want to say it even more now over the holidays, is people reach out to someone you haven't heard from in a while. Send them a text message, send them an email, call them. I mean, anything. And I say this for even people on LinkedIn, because there was someone I didn't see for a while. And I reached out and I was like, hey man, where have you been? I haven't seen you. And then finding out he was going through some hard stuff. Sometimes that tiny little message, because this has been a bunch of the stories that Christy I've heard this year too, it's a text message that stopped something from happening.
Yeah.
That tiny little thing, it's not tiny. And we do, and this is another reason we wanted to do this. And I think the whole authentic for this year, which is incredible for so many reasons, is because we just wanted to put motivation, inspiration, and hope out into this world, because we knew so many people were going through something, including, I mean, it started because I was going through some shit and not feeling good. And I was like, I need to do something to help turn this around. And if one person hears any of our broadcasts that are putting out on these things, that it helps them, then job done. And if all of us leave here, ripple effect, and do those little things of text messaging, calling, checking on someone, we're making a difference. And all of us have the power to do that, to be
and
there.
that's why Mike's videos are great. I mean,
they're awesome.
You have so many videos,
Yeah.
and which is great, because it's just like there's so many different levels, so many stories. I mean, you've been doing it for a while, but and just it's just real people. I mean, it's not Hollywood. It's not the stuff that you're
not
through.
And
no, it has to be authentic to get that story across and make it feel like it's something I'm going through and help others.
Yeah. And that's even the other reason why Christy and I wanted to do the live and not have scripted. I mean, anybody who comes on will say, hey, Kelly's going to do an intro. Then she's going to give it to Christy, and then we'll hand it over to you to tell your story. We don't have pre-questions. We don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
If somebody has a book or a new project that they want to mention, we ask that in advance. But there's zero script. And it was for that reason, because authenticity and real conversation is what people want. I think people are so sick of, reality TV or any of
the
the
lies that they see. I mean, it's just the bullshit that's out there. We want the real, we want to be raw.
Yeah.
And people want to just feel included, that their story matters. So it's not more of, watching someone else say something that, tips or whatever. They want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And be able to relate to it. Because that was the other thing. We're not teaching anything. We just want to share as much information that will help others as possible. And then going back to your project, what is your ultimate goal with this project? Just to continue to share your stories, or where's your vision for this in the future?
Well, I want to be somewhat like the next Ted Turner. So I want to be multimedia.
Hopefully not like him.
Right. Yeah, not like the person.
Not person, but he also does live with bipolar disorder. So that's more of a...
Oh, interesting. I did not know
He
that.
does, yes. So, but I want to be telling these stories on a different angle. I mean, that goal is much ahead. So right now, my goal is just gaining trust to tell more stories from larger nonprofits and anyone who who wants to talk to me, email me.
We got a list of people for you.
Yeah, we do.
But I think that's the thing, creating vignettes and either working with other broadcast companies, news organizations, anything like that to help get these message out and, even help them tell mental health stories. That's the big thing I want to do right now. But, and hopefully that comes, and then, just having me on the show, hopefully gains trust and, helps the goal.
It absolutely does. Because I think when people, and that's the other thing, when people see who you are, I mean, Christy and I have both had calls, I'm sure, and I'll speak more for myself, but Zoom calls with people to be like, oh my God, you're exactly like you are on the show. And it's like, well, who else am I going to be? It's not a persona. And I'll always go back to the whole thing. It's hard enough just being me. I don't have time to try to be something else. Or say what people.
And I don't like wearing masks because they don't do well with my face, the skin. So, I'm not putting on a mask. I'm not going to be somebody else.
No, or what people think you want to be, and feeling comfortable with that. Which I will say for me personally too, just doing all these LinkedIn lives after coming from corporate America, not being able to get a job after getting laid off in 2020, depression, all the things. I wasn't feeling comfortable with who I was. And I think doing the lives and talking to so many other people, it allows you to kind of get back into your lane of, yep, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. And I love it. But trying to be kind to ourselves, because our brain says the worst things to us than usually anyone else will ever say in our lives. And, yeah. So, and I do want to ask if you have any pipe dream of who you would interview. Like, who would that be?
That's a good question. There's the celebrities who do a lot for mental illness. I would like to interview Selena Gomez, and a lot more is just different nonprofits I want to talk to. I want to talk to NAMI a lot more, National Alliance on Mental Illness. And that's, you stumped me here. Just,
You think about it
because you never know who we might know.
You'd be surprised at some of the people, for sure.
And going back to what Kelle was saying, working, we grew up, at least I did, looking for people to approve of me because I wasn't worthy enough. Nobody will love me. Hell, I didn't fall in love until I was 42 and didn't get married until I was 59. But until I was in my late 50s, I finally just said, fuck you all. I know who I am. Either you like me or you don't. I'm confident. I know, but I do have those triggers, especially when I call my mother. I do have those triggers because anytime we talk to our mothers as women, we tend to go back to that 15-year-old sometimes, wanting that approval. But we're aware of our triggers. And so when I do the confidence coaching, I share with it because what other people are going through, I can relate. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We all are looking outside of ourselves to get affirmation. And once we figure out our quirks, our brokenness, who we are, we just embrace it. Yeah. Because, there's only one perfect person, and it ain't us.
Right. Amen to that. And we're all broken, right? And we're all flawed. And it is about embracing that and being okay with it. Because our story is our story. 10 years ago, if you would have asked me to talk about domestic violence, I'd have been like, oh, hell no. I am not comfortable talking about it. It was still probably embarrassing at that time and had underlying shame. But that was because I was worried about judgment from others. because, oh, well, you're a victim of domestic violence. Why didn't you leave? And that's one of the things that people say that I will say pisses me off, because I'm like, you don't know the situation. Who
Right.
are you to judge? You don't know what it's like to be in that position of being fully manipulated and controlled.
Right.
So zip it and ask questions. And I say that about this will be a good little transition here. I say that about anything that we don't really understand. Like if you're not really sure about bipolar, like ask questions.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't even know what to ask because I just don't know. Like, do I need to treat you different? Do I like what is it about? Be curious enough to understand where the person is instead of passing judgment. And this was a thing. I'm not a New Year's resolution person. I'm someone that, like, if you need to change something in your life, change it. Um, but there was this challenge that was for 30 days, pay attention to what you judge. And then, of course, to take it a step further, if you really want to go into the challenge, it's ask yourself, why am I judging that? Because it always has something to do with you. You're judging someone else based on how you feel about yourself. And one, you will be astonished at how often that we do it, because it is a regular practice. And I think it was Brene Brown that did this. I could be wrong. And I did it and I was really shocked. But it does help you be aware of when you're judging, to be like, man, what is that hitting in me that's making me feel uncomfortable? Because it never has anything to do with the other person. And I think that same thing with mental health is just be curious enough to ask questions, really to go back all of that.
But
and
why a lot of people don't want to ask questions because they're afraid of the answers, and they really don't want to know.
Yeah, that's true. It's easier to judge, which is just that's just my opinion. So I know we're coming up here on the top of the hour. So I just kind of wanted to, Christy, if you had any other questions, of course, but Michael, sort of wrapping up your final thoughts, and you don't have to rush. So I'm not saying you have like 30 seconds or anything. And then also what we can do, or what the audience can do and post promo, what can we do to help you?
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing about the people I interview. I've been interviewing a lot of either college kids or people in their young 20s. And for me, it's amazing how open they are and how helpful they are in helping other people and sharing their story. So my goal is hopefully, people older could feel that comfortable, because it is tough. And, years ago, it's very challenging to say what you have or what makes it better. So that's what I'm trying to do, is go out there and say, I have these lived experience. There's a lot of mental health people don't know how to explain. I want to do that. I want to do the best reporting as I can for that. Not just the things what doctors go through, what everyone goes through to help people going through a crisis, and then people with lived experiences. So I'm trying to combine all that so you have the empathy, than just, the meat and potatoes is what I'm trying to do. And for people who want to help and you want to help, is if you have a nonprofits who are, in those three fields of frontlines and mental health, please let me know. Message.
We just named him. We just named him earlier.
Yes, all of them. I would love to talk to them. And because getting those stories out and just talking to them about themselves is more important than talking about an event or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, what's great about these, let's go ahead, babe.
I just wanted to add on, because you were talking to the 20-year-olds in school and stuff. That's totally why you thought of Christy and I. Is that what?
There's no way in hell I'd want to be 20 again. Or 30 or 40. I like where I'm at. No.
Okay,
no.
Go ahead, Christy.
What's interesting about the nonprofits that we shouted out today is their journeys. I mean, the vets, and dealing with why they're fighting monsters. the trafficking, and their own story of how they got through where they're at. So we'll definitely connect you with, I'll do introductions to you, like I did with the general, because for us, these stories need to get out. And yes, our LinkedIn Live is not business. Yeah, we'll pop into, what we do, blah, blah, blah. We're about having conversations. It's about sitting in the just having just if I could have a glass of wine, I would. I guess I could. It's 2:00. It's happening.
No, thank you for what you do to get these conversations out there.
Yeah, because the main thing is that everybody says, especially companies, we're all about mental health, your mental health, and then there's very few. I only know one company that I worked for, and this is the last company. It's a occupational health care. I'll do a shout out to Axiom. You guys are great. They're about the mental health. They do wellness Wednesdays for the in-house. I mean, they truly are about the mental health. And that was a nice change. Mm-hmm. However, they're very unique because the conversations I have with people who are in toxic environments and jobs, and there's a lot of people, but they're not going to go leave because the jobs are, having to go through the crap of trying to find the job and the mental health issues there. But having these conversations, it's the main thing is you're not alone.
Yep.
And understanding that everybody has that journey in life, the good, the bad, the truly shitty. Mm-hmm. I've seen that shitty side. You've seen that. Kelly's seen it. We've all seen it. However, we're on this side of the earth, and our shitty time that we went through, didn't get over it, we went through, is to be able to share with other people.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say one of the things, just because for some reason when you said that reminded me, my mom is the most prim and proper. She does not use the language that I use. Sorry, Mom.
Neither does mine.
But one of the things that she said during one of the hardest times I went through in my life was, one of the things that she always would say is, God never gives you more than you can handle. And I would say, well, I wish God didn't think so highly of me at times. But what she said about, just remember the most beautiful roses grow out of shit. And because manure does grow the most beautiful roses. And that is true, but it's getting through that. And it's always beautiful on the other side. We never like it when we're in the midst of it, because it's not fun. But when we get to the other side of it, it's like, oh, now I can see the lesson or part of the lesson. But I think that's just so profound to remember that those things do happen. You have to go through. Our best lessons in life are usually the hardest ones, in the sense of they're not fun and they suck.
Yeah.
But we'll dive into them, we get through them quicker, and you never get to the other side of any kind of pain, trauma, or situation and don't go, God, I wish I would have waited another day to get here. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, thank God I made it. And the bravery that it takes, and reminding ourselves of that we're all brave for it, speaking these things and wanting to share with everyone. And one last thing is, just because this is mostly on a business platform with LinkedIn, our business life is, our personal life is also carried into our business life.
Yeah.
So our mental health is great. This is why with organizations, I'm like, I don't understand why you don't have corporate coaches or someone in your office dealing with your team. You have a team, a staff, however you want to categorize it, that has their health in check. And you can make the health however you want it. They are so much more productive, and will do incredible things for your organization. But all of these words and these seemingly empty promises of, oh yes, we put this first, we're DEI, we have a great culture, all of these things, they don't, and they should, and that could be a whole nother episode. So Christy, do you have anything that you want to say to wrap up?
No, I mean, we're all butterflies or phoenixes, or it's like we burn to the ground. And I always look at it that anytime that I've gone through some dark times, I look after I've gotten through it, I look back and go, I wouldn't even want to be that person again. I like
Right.
who I am now.
Yes. And see, there's another thing, because I've had people say, like, I can never imagine you being in that domestic violence relationship. And I can't ever imagine you tolerating that bullshit. And I said, well, but I would now, but I'm not the same person
Right.
I was then, because I'm a totally different person now, that I love and I'm very proud of, and I wouldn't change.
So you have to allow yourself to evolve, because change is, people are afraid of change. They're afraid of changing jobs, life, relationships, everything like that. I'm all about changing, probably because I moved every 2 and 4 years.
But you're used to it. You lean into change.
I do.
If change,
because I know that the change is not going to be, it's not going to be worse. It might not be fabulous when it's changing.
Yeah.
However, or even when I got where I needed to be, but then I have the power to be able to change it again. To say, okay, this isn't working for me. Let's change it again.
Yeah.
Because it's just, having that confidence in myself and knowing that I'm not going to go backwards.
That's right.
Not going back to that person before.
Yeah. And like, I do say this a lot. If growth were easy, everybody would be doing it. So on that happy note, I do want to remind everybody, please do connect with Mike. If you know anyone who you think would be a good fit for a show, send him an email with the person's name and as a recommendation. And do check out his videos. They're incredible. So do go to his
on YouTube
videos. Yeah, his YouTube channel. Christy and I will also be sharing our videos from Michael's show. Michael, we can't think. See, now I can't help but call you Michael. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and sharing your story. You're incredible, and we're grateful to call you friend. And to everyone, which I can't believe is the last Tuesday of November. What? Giving Tuesday, please do go to our profiles and check out those organizations. If you can't donate, please do spread it with your network. And if you need anything, remember, you are never alone. Reach out to someone, reach out to us. And until next Tuesday at 1:11 p.m., just remember, we are all on this journey together, and together we do make it awesome. Have a great day, everyone.